Yeah, we got to start talking about my campaign that I'm running. Had session one just yesterday, Saturday evening. Uh, Four players were supposed to show up, but only two of them did. One had an emergency to go out of town. The other had picked up a couple extra shifts where he works, so he couldn't make it. And the other two were like me; they made it on time and on schedule. And so I've for this campaign, I'm running the Halls of Arden. It's the first time I've really run a published campaign of this scale. I've always made my own adventures along the way, and I have decided that with the four players we have, that I'm going to run Arden very much a kind of a just noticing how badly I need to shave. But with the players I have, that we need to have I need to run in a slightly different way. Put a little more emphasis on what the players do. I've always been very player centric, but what I want to do is to play up a region. The valley of Burdrock's Valley is the setting. I de-emphasized early on for the guys that it's a mega dungeon. That the Halls of Ardenvul is a titanic dungeon, probably the biggest published one as far as like just sheer uh, number of pages devoted to a dungeon. Uh, I don't know really that it's actually bigger than Stonehell or in terms of number of encounters, but in terms of volume of material written about it, I think it is the king. Uh, Perhaps it's being close by Gods of the Forbidden North, though I don't have the third volume of that yet. And that was basically my choice: was either run Gods of the Forbidden North or run Halls of Arden. But since I'm a first edition AD&D guy, and the Osric rules are way closer to first edition AD&D, um, that was part of it. But another part of it was I was reading. I didn't even know the guys who designed it. The guy who designed it had stuff on Dragon's Foot. I read through there. Also, it doesn't seem like a ton of people are running it. I know that there are other YouTubers who are running this thing. So, but I wanted to just get that off. So the way I'm running it is traditional. Is not in my standard way. First, in my campaigns, continuity meant that if the players showed up, they ran their character. But if the player didn't show up, I ran their character. Or occasionally, another player character would. Another player would play two characters, and it would be the. That's not been that's it's been my rule since the late '80s. We want the character, but if I never liked the kind of silly idea that player didn't show up, his character somehow disappeared from the game. I always thought that it was insufficiently rational. Took me out of the setting. Took me out of the reality of the game. However, if you're careful, I think the way I'm doing is, and the way it's supposed to be done, and the way a lot of old school guys do it is the party ends at a safe space at the end of every session, and if the player doesn't show up that next week, well, he just stays in that safe space, and downtime stuff can continue to happen. Uh, that's been my model now for this. So the first session, the two guys came, they made up their characters. I'm running pretty much strictly first edition, using just Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, uh, using very little from Unearthed Arcana, no weapon specialization, for example. Uh, I did let them choose their secondary skill, and I used a new rule where they can just invent another skill that they want, as long as it doesn't duplicate a ability that is already done by one of the other classes. They can just tack it onto their character, and I don't have any set means. Like they don't have a. It's not. I'm not even doing necessarily D20 roll under. Usually I use 3d6 roll under, and for more difficult things 4d6 roll over. For easier things 2d6 roll under for my ability score checks. So, for example, if you have a 18 Constitution and I say 3d6 roll under check, then obviously you have a 100% chance of success, and therefore no rolls needed. And for a guy with a 13 con 3d6 roll under, still well above 50%, because it's, the bulk of the rolls are going to fall between 8 and 12. The vast bulk, they're going to fall between 8 and 12, and then even more are going to be under 8. So it's just my way. I just add an extra 6-sided to make it more difficult. So a very difficult task might be 5d6, and that's about where I end. There aren't very many characters with 19s and 20s in first edition, and the way I run, I don't give away enough wishes. I don't have enough of the kind of stuff where they can touch a rock and increase an ability score. That kind of stuff or touch an altar, increase ability score. I don't give away the books that increase ability scores. But the two guys made up elven characters, even though I'm strictly enforcing level limits, which is not always what I do. I don't always enforce level limits, but I want to de-emphasize, because Arden is very much humanocentric, even more so than say the Forgotten Realms, and about the same, probably as much as the Gold Box Greyhawk, and maybe even more. There doesn't seem to be quite the kind of demi-human integration in setting. There's no gnomes at all, for example, but they do have Imperial goblins. I'm not surprised neither of the guys made up Imperial goblin characters. So they both made up elves, even though I was trying to de-emphasize demi-humans intentionally. One of the guys even kind of whined about it, but he still ended up making an elven fighter magic user, which is his favorite class, and frankly, it's my favorite class too. So it's my favorite thing to play as an elven fighter magic user. 5 times out of 10, 6 times out of 10, if I was playing first edition, second edition, or BX, I would be playing an elf or an elven fighter magic user. The other guy made up a elven magic user thief, and the game, after they got their stuff, they got moved into the city of Gostwick. They got to see the Azure keep, and they got involved in the quest to find the cannon from Newmarket. And so they're just about to set off on that quest when the game I was like, yeah, well, they'll be in the middle of the quest, and that goes against my new philosophy. So I'm doing real time between sessions. So they have 7 days of downtime before the next session shows up. They're going to do a few things. And they didn't even, so they made up the characters. I explained to them the little house rule things I've decided, and then they finally got the information for the quest. That's pretty much all they did. They got used to their surroundings. I gave them the player's map of the valley, and I also gave them a map of the town of Gostwick, and that's pretty much the entirety of the session. Telling them about the world, getting them acclimated, interacting with the city briefly, and then we ended the campaign. And that sounds like we didn't get much done, and we really didn't, considering that we started at about 5 and ended at about midnight, which is pretty typical for my current way of running. That is a short session historically for me, but not a super short. Usually 7 hours is at the lower end of normal, 9 at the upper end of normal. I used to run 10-hour sessions every now and then. I still, over the last couple of years, I've run probably 10-15% of my sessions have been 9 hours or greater, but probably also about 20 to 25% have been 6 hours or less. So I've gone away from my full 8 hours every session goal. But to me, sometimes players just need time to plan and do things. I want to get them. I don't want to rush their planning. I don't want to rush their preparation. I want them to go and do what they want to do when they want to do it. They're not on my timeline. It's their campaign. It's their campaign because they're living through it. They're acting and reacting through their characters. I'm just designing the world. But I thought it was very successful. I actually had fun. They bought a couple war dogs, hired a couple mercenaries, and they're about to go off and look into what's happening. What happened to the cannon? Something about some talk of lizard dog creatures having kidnapped her. So they will go and look and see what that is. Of course, they assume it's probably kobolds, and they may be right. They may be wrong. If you know the setting, if you have the book, you might know. But considering how huge the book is, it might be something you've actually missed, even though it's pretty prominent early in the book. It still might be something you missed because there's 4 volumes of written material plus the 5th volume of maps, and there's an awful lot to grok in that thing. So I meant to make only a 10-minute video. Again, I drag here. So, but that's the first session of my Halls of Arden campaign, which should carry on for quite a while now. So, thank you. If you like any of my content, please subscribe.